Hey, what's up? This is Matt Harvey from EXHUMED, and, a bunch of other shit as well that hopefully you've checked out. And you're now checking out the FANTASM Podcast. So turn that shit up, sit back, and fucking enjoy. Cheers.
Phantasm. Maximum terror.
Oh! That's your target audience, baby!
Phantasm.
And you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
Phantasm.
Sell the metal! Sell the metal! Sell the metal! Sell the metal!
Phantasm.
It's Dr. Vincent West with the Phantasm Podcast. I've got one of my favorite people on today. We haven't talked in a long, long time. Matt Harvey from EXHUMED. And we're going to be talking about To the Dead. This album cover is fucking fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Rot in the wheelhouse of everything we love, horror. It's beautiful, man. Tell us about this first track of this album. Let's see. Good Lord, I can't even pronounce that. Putrescine and Cardivoron?
Putrescine and cadaverine, yes. They are, putrescine and cadaverine are compounds that arise through the process of decomposition. As the body loses its integrity, these are two of the substances that it becomes. It's some sort of, necrotic alchemy or whatever, if you will. Flesh becoming goop. And these are the two of the kinds of goop.
It's amazing. What a way to kick this record off. And I couldn't even pronounce it.
That's good. That makes it sound really intelligent.
Yeah, you got to love my Florida accent butchering stuff. Yeah, it's a hell of a way to kick this album off. Let's see here. Drained of Color, track 2.
Drain of Color, it kind of just starts with this bulldozer type, death metal riff, and which is I think why we chose it as the first single.
It's great,
and it's just about siphoning fluids from a dead body via trocar, and the process of discoloration and decoloration of the skin, and sort of reveling in how unpleasant the whole thing is. And we also made a video about it. So
yeah, it's amazing. The video is very cool. You guys should check that out. It's awesome. Really, really cool. Let's see. Track 3, Carbonized.
Carbonized. This one actually, the first two songs I wrote the music for, and then this one our guitar player Sebastian wrote.
Nice.
He's like 20 years younger than me almost.
Both of us.
A little bit faster. And Sebastian's like a major stoner. So when Ross and I were talking about, what kind of lyrics should we do for this song? Ross was like, well, kid's a fucking stoner. Like, let's write a song about, smoking dead bodies to get high. And of course it goes terribly wrong. And, that's what the song's about, basically losing your mind, trying to get high off of corpses.
That's perfect. Let's see. Rank and Defiled, track 4.
Rank and Defiled, Ross wrote the music, and I sort of came in and helped with some bits on that. And then he wrote the lyrics. I think he originally, I don't want to speak too much for Ross, but he originally told me it was going to be some sort of lampoon of the U.S. Senate. I'm not exactly sure what he had in mind there, but as he started writing, he said that wasn't really working. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said, so I turned it into one of those songs about how we like to rock that you're so fond of. And I was like, killer. We had some of these sort of quasi-autobiographical songs like In the Name of Gore or Carrion Call. That's sort of our take on Heavy Metal Mania by Holocaust or something like that. But, obviously we make it much more metaphorical and colorful.
Awesome. It's fantastic. Let's see track 5, Lurid, Shocking, and Vile.
This one was kind of when I wrote the music, I was sort of my attempt to write something like we would have written maybe in like 1995 for the Headale split or something.
Nice.
Which is why it's got some really faster tempos, and actually, Lurid, Shocking, and Vile was the alternate title for the record. We were kind of going back and forth between To the Dead and Lurid, Shocking, and Vile. And
that would have been a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I'm very happy with the final decision.
No, it's cool.
But To the Dead was Ross's suggestion, and Lurid, Shocking, and Vile was mine. But this one is sort of about, I know so many people, for some reason it seems to be like adult white women especially, but they fucking love like true crime shit.
Yeah.
Like obsessed with it. And
that is true.
I'm one of them right now. like Robin, her bass player in Gruesome.
She's into that stuff.
Oh, she's so into it. That's all she watches. And so it's just about sort of a deepening obsession with the dark side of human nature, and the kind of line between fascination, voyeurism, and what's the word I'm looking for? But sort of arousal by association. I watch porn, so whatever. But it's like,
exactly.
If true crime was your porn, like what kind of dark places would your mind go to? And that's what that one's about.
Awesome. Track 6, Undertaking the Overkilled.
This is another one of my lyrics. And as I was sort of going through all the songs, I was like, oh, well, at least I have a sort of consistent theme. This one is kind of interesting because we had former band members write songs, and side 2 is mostly their songs. And this one was written by Leon Del Muerte of obviously Exhumed and Impaled and Murder Construct and Nails and Terrorizer LA and 80 billion other bands that he's done. I really love I love the music that he came up with. So that was really strong track. And this is sort of one of my, when you look into the abyss looks back into you. And it's sort of, again, people who become sort of desensitized to their own empathy through constant exposure to these sort of, social Darwinist like messaging of the right-wing media culture.
Sure.
You see somebody like, killing another person for siphoning gas, and you don't think, wow, like, yeah, that sucks, they stole your gas, but like, man, what's wrong with society that people are out here stealing each other's gas? Like, this is fucked up. Instead, you think, good, I'm glad that guy fucking killed that no good piece of shit. And so it's kind of about numbness to violence, I guess. This is the short answer. Sorry, I hadn't said that out loud yet. I could have crystallized that much faster.
No, it's cool, man.
Numbness to violence and carnage.
Nice. Track 7, Neurotica.
This one, continue with the songs by former members. This one was by Mike Beams. It's actually one of my very favorite songs on the record. Mike, played on the first 3 albums.
Yeah.
So I'm intimately familiar with his style. And as I was kind of like recording the track, I was like, oh man, I'm just having so much fun playing this dude's riffs again. So with Necrotica, Ross and I were talking, and we always, have these necrophiliac kind of themes. And Ross is like, I'm going to challenge you. He's like, I want you to write a necrophiliac song that is like, it's not about desecrating the corpse. It's about the necrophile getting sort of desecrated by their own sort of emotional trauma. And so it's almost like a tragic romance of a necrophile as the body keeps decaying, and the relationship is literally falling apart.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
To decay. So yeah, I don't know if you ever saw that movie Kissed.
Absolutely.
That came out in the so that was kind of like my jumping off point with something like that, where it's like about necrophilia, but it's not just about the necromantic kind of thing, which I think we've covered
oh yeah
ad infinitum at this point.
That's great. Let's see, track 8, No Headstone Unturned.
No Head Still Unturned. This was a song written by our old guitar player slash bass player, Bud Burke, and that's why it has this sort of big melodic. Because Bud is a big melodic Guitar Hero kind of player.
Nice.
I always like to sort of take a well-worn kind of aphorism and then, add something or turn, something so that it becomes morbid. We did it a lot, like on the first record.
Sure.
And I think No Head Still Unturned, I think, is actually one of the puns in Deadest of the Dead. And obviously, I think I'm quite clever. So I was like, oh, that'd be a good song title. And it started out as a song kind of talking about just general mayhem in a graveyard and just, grave desecration in general. And as I was writing it, it sort of became a metaphor for, tearing down these Confederate monuments that were, erected in the 1950s as, the sort of last bastion of defense of segregation and stuff.
Sure.
And how this obsession with the past is leading to violence today. But it's also just a song about fucking shit up in a cemetery.
Nice.
So you don't have to get into my whole,
No, it's cool. It's cool. Let's see, track 9, Defecated.
Defecated. This one was written by our old bass player Matt Widener, who went on to play in County Medical Examiners and Cretin.
Nice.
And Libertier, and he's sort of a reclusive genius who's just one of my best and oldest friends, but he's also one of the strangest people I know. So I was really excited that he was sort of willing to contribute a track to the record, and Ross really was the lyrical mastermind behind this song. And I love this song because it's one of the ones I had the least to do with, so I can listen to it kind of objectively. This one is about, this is very 90s exhumed, I think. This is what Ross was going with this. It's about keeping someone captive and cannibalizing them, and forcing them to watch as you cannibalize them piece by piece, and then you shit out the meal of this person's body in front of them as they're forced to watch you shit out the shit from their body. The shit that is from you eating their body. So it's just completely disgusting and kind of a convoluted, beautiful MC Escher clusterfuck of horrible, really bad things happening there.
It's amazing. Very, very cool. And then the final track, track 10, Disgusted.
Disgusted, this one is one of my songs, and this is about basically I think it's kind of like basically all the riffs that didn't fit in any other song somehow ended up in this one, because I was like, God damn, this song has a lot of parts. And it's about, somebody with these sort of violent, homicidal, serial killer type urges, and they can sort of feel themselves, they feel these urges growing, and they're looking at themselves in a mirror and just being horrified at the person that they are afraid they may be. And then that's the first section, and then by the third verse, when it sort of recapitulates, it's about turning that outward and acting on these impulses and letting go of the disgust for yourself, and then forcing other people to be disgusted with all of the atrocious murders that you are then committing.
Amazing.
So it's like a very, very poor man's O. Henry kind of twist there.
Dude, this record is killer. And then you've got the tour with Holder, Vitriol, and Mulder. Is that right?
It's Holder and Vitriol for the whole tour. Mulder is doing the first half, and then Castrator is doing the second.
Oh, Castrator. Okay, great.
And we've already been, joking about how similar Holder and Mulder are, and we've started singing, you gotta know when to hold her, know when to mold her, know when to scold her. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure we'll come up with an entire song by the time the tour is over.
You could even put an X-Files reference in there somewhere. Mulder, Holder.
Yeah, you put them together, and it's David Duchovny's character for the hairstyle. It's perfect.
It's amazing. As far as writing this record, real quick, was it something y'all were working on during the pandemic? Was it post pandemic or?
Well, it started before, and I already as I've started the press cycle for this album, I'm like, I can't wait for the next album, so I never have to keep talking about the pandemic.
Sure.
But it was one of those things.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just a thing.
No, it's totally cool. It's just, it was a thing that enveloped everything, it kind of, it's one of those global events that just takes over everything. You can't talk about the last 2 years without talking about it. It's impossible. Sure. And we started before the pandemic, and we were about halfway through the album, and then once the pandemic started, we realized that we would have kind of as much time as we desired to finish the record or to write it. And then that sort of, we also realized that we played the first Exhumed gig in 1991, so it was the 30th anniversary of the band, sort of, but obviously with COVID, we're like, we wouldn't be able to do an anniversary show.
Sure.
And we didn't want to just re-record old songs, and knowing that not only did we have sort of time on our hands, but everybody did, we thought, we'll hit up these former members and we'll get them to kind of give their take on what they think Exhumed is about, and how they fit into it, and maybe comment sort of on where we are now versus where we were when they were in the band, via writing a song. And I'm actually like super happy with how it turned out, and that they were all able to get involved. So that, the pandemic allowed us a little bit more time to let people contribute at their own pace, and then we really took our time sort of mixing the record, and we have our own studio, so it was just kind of like we just fucking I'm gonna go try guitar today. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll just take like a 3-hour hike instead, and then we'll just cook dinner. I'll come back tomorrow. So it was a real luxury to be able to sort of take that time and go through a bunch of different mixes, and really kind of decide what we wanted the record to be with no external pressure at all. So it's making lemonade out of lemons or whatever. Just trying to make the best of the situation.
And this is the second album in the new studio, because last time we talked, you had just built the new studio.
Yeah, and that one we had to really fucking hurry because we just finished building the studio, and we had to start a Latin American tour. So we're like fucking trying to, I think we rehearsed like once for that tour, because we're all in there just trying to finish the fucking record. It was really stressful. This one was the opposite. This one was really laid back, and it was nice. I don't know that I would want to take 4 months from starting and making a record to finishing it, but it was nice to be able to do that,
Yeah, man. This is a fucking great album. The cover art's great. The music's great. Pound for pound, you can always count on Exhumed to give you something, just killer death metal. Grinding its way through your skull. It's so good, man. This is such a great record. Real quick before I let you go, you got this tour coming up. We should get together, man. I haven't seen you or Ross in like 3 years.
Yeah, it's fucking been a minute and then some, because we did that tour in 2021, but we sort of specifically avoided heading too south because
Oh, it's crazy. It's insane.
That's where we were going to get
COVID.
Virus, and we were going to lose a show.
Yeah.
It was just a risk reward thing, and we figured it was sort of better to err on the side of caution. But we're really stoked to be back in Georgia and Florida and shit. We're even doing New Orleans on this tour, so we're going to enjoy a respite from the cold and some good Southern hospitality for sure. So yeah, let me know. I mean, you have my number, so just hit me up.
Look, thank you for doing this. I'll let you go on to the next one. I appreciate the hell out of your time. Tell Ross I said hi.
I will. All right, buddy.
Take care, brother.
Phantasm.
And you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.